So when we're working with materials, one of the things that can be uh, devastating to your project is to not have the right scale and to not find that out until far too late in the process. So we need to bring in a human character so that we can begin to compare it, and use it as a reference point. So I'm going to go control space into my content drawer. I'm going to click on this particular ad, and we're going to go up here to add feature or content pack, and I'm going to grab third person, and I'm going to say add to project. And this is going to add in some pre-built bits of code and assets for us to use. So now if I go control space, looking for characters, mannequins, meshes, and I can drag in SKM Manny. And it'll take a second for him to compile, and then I can left click to drop him into the scene. Now maneuvering around WAS and D with the right mouse button depressed, we can see that this tile looks a bit big. Tile should, compared to the size of his feet, these would be awfully large tiles. These would be closer to probably 18 inches, maybe 2 feet at the max. So what we need to do is we need to adjust the size of this. So let's go into our tile here. And what we need to do is we need to get the texture coordinates. So we need to get the information. So I'm going to right click, which brings up our node menu, and I'm going to search for texture coordinates, and I'm going to grab texture coordinate. So this is going to grab our texture coordinate. Now what we want to do is we want to multiply it. So I'm going to hold down M and left click. That's the shortcut for multiply. And then I'm going to hold down 1 and left click because that's the shortcut for a single variable. So we're going to set a default value of 1 because when we multiply anything by 1, we get the same. So that's what we want to always start with. So we'll plug that into B, we'll plug that into A. So now this node is going to multiply the texture coordinates by the value that we choose here, and then it'll input that into the UV map. So with this setting, we're not going to see any change. But if we change the value to 2.0 and hit apply, we can come back to the desert scene. Now we can see that those tiles are smaller and possibly closer to what we would be looking for. So let's go back. Let's turn that up to maybe 2.5 and hit apply, and we'll go back to our scene. Yeah, that looks better. But we can see now we've got a problem. So now our normal map isn't matching. So now we've got to take this same information and plug it in down here. So we want to go ahead and pull the output from this multiply node and plug it right into there so that we're sending the same texture coordinate alterations to both textures. So now let's hit apply, back to the desert scene, and now we're looking good. Okay. One extra level of detail that we can start to add in is to use, instead of just a single value here for our roughness value, we can also use a texture map for that. So let me go back to my stuff, content, my stuff, and let's bring in this roughness map. So what we can use is what's called a grayscale image, and we can use that to drive the roughness values. So a value, a low value, like a darker value on the image would translate to less roughness, and a higher value would translate to more roughness. So let's delete this, and we can plug in our roughness texture sample into roughness. And let's hit apply, and we can go back and see our scene now. And a lot of the assets that you're going to interact with will come with a base color map. It'll come with a roughness texture map, and it'll come with your normal map. I'm going to go here to show and turn off the grid because I find that distracting while we're looking at this tiled surface here. So here's our tiled surface that's now had the texture coordinates adjusted to be more accurate for scale, and we've added in a grayscale roughness map to drive that roughness value.